Hello, we are live. Hello, good evening, everyone. This is Unit Stan coming live from Singapore, right? If you can hear me, type loud and clear in the chat box. Hello, good evening, everyone. Okay, seems the audio is working fine. Right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Daily People Skills, another episode of where we share tips on how to deal with people, how to deal with yourself. Right, before we get on with today's lesson, let me know where you're watching this from. Well, are you watching from Singapore, or are you watching from overseas? If you're watching from overseas, let us know where you are watching from, which country, which city, and what time is it over there. Are you working from home, or you are watching it from your office space, at work? You're having a break now, right? These days we really don't know who is watching from where anymore. It could be good morning, could be good afternoon as well, right? And if you're watching this from Singapore, let us know, are you still at work? Have you been working from home, or have you been going back to office? Things like that. What did you have for dinner? Let us know. We like to keep our session as interactive as possible. Right. Once again, good evening. My name is Eunice Tan. I'm an entrepreneur, speaker, and trainer. Welcome to my channel on YouTube channel on Daily People Skills. Now, many people think that people skills is just about EQ, communication skills, and leadership skills. But people skills go much, much beyond that. At the bottom line, it is about who you really, really are. Because before you can manage anyone, you must first manage yourself. Right? It is also one skill that will never be replaced by technology and artificial intelligence. That's my very, very strong belief in that. Right? More about that later on. And for now, let's jump right into today's topic. I'd like to start my session on time. Right? Now, today's topic is on the one secret I use to connect with most people without fear. Right? Almost 99%, I would say. Just let me share my screen first. Oops, just give me one moment. Okay, are you watching this? If you can see the slide, just give me a thumbs up and say slide's okay. Right, great. I think you can see the slide quite well. Right, so as I was saying, today's topic is on the one secret that I use to connect with other people almost without fear. Right. Have you ever wondered how some people can seem to catch what other people are thinking or what they want very quickly? Right? Have you found yourself somehow finding more relatable to one particular person than another? And it's not just you. That particular person, right? Usually many people will find this particular person very relatable as well. So what is their secret? The same one secret that I apply every day of my life as well. Right, which I'm going to share with you this evening. Now, actually, it's not really a secret. Some of you will have heard of it too. The problem is that you do not know how powerful this secret is, and you never use it, never applied it. But we do, right? So what is this secret? It is, drum roll, let's see, it's called empathy. Yes, right. So before you say, oh, I know all about that, not another one again and all, just hold your horses and watch on. Yes, right. Because if you think you know, you might be in for some surprises. I'm going to share some of the things that you might be having some misconception about empathy. You might have don't know how to do it properly, and and we will be sharing a lot of different aspects of this empathy, right? So watch to the end as we explore the misconception of empathy. What is empathy? And is it nature or nurture? Can you nurture empathy out of somebody, right? And also, very importantly, I'm going to share on the danger of being too empathy. And when you go overboard, right? And how does being empathic helps me to connect, and how to be empathic the right way, healthily for other people and also for yourself. So let's get started, right? Now, actually, I prefer the Chinese principle. This whole session, right, is actually evolved from, it's based on a Chinese principle known as 将心比心. which actually I prefer this principle than empathy, because I feel that the Chinese saying of 将心比心 is a more accurate expression and is a fuller explanation as well. Right, so the closest translation I can find is the word empathy. Right, so for those of you who understands Chinese, you have an advantage. You already, somehow you catch you catch where I'm going with this. Right, for those who don't understand Chinese, don't worry, you will still get the power of this skill set. Right, and I said skill set, so meaning it already give you a hint that you can acquire and learn and improve on it. Right, so let's start with some of the misconception of empathy first. Right, now, some of the misconception of empathy is this. Right, I will just focus on three, and let's start with the first and second one. Now, the first one is very often it is confused with sympathy, and also it is different from compassion. So what do I mean? Now, sympathy can be explained in the sense that it's a feeling of concern for someone else and a desire that they become happier or better off. So, when you see someone who has an elderly who has living in poverty, or a young child who has going through some adversity and some illnesses and some disability, you have some sympathy towards this group of people, these kind of people, because they are less fortunate than you are. Yeah, they can't so-called live in not as the same normalcy as most of us. I said normalcy, yeah. As we know, some people, despite their physical disability, they live a more adventurous and colorful life than some of us. But I'm talking about some people who really cannot do it, and they are dependent on other people, and we have this sense of sympathy towards them, because we feel sorry for them, and we can feel that oh, they must be very painful. It must be difficult for them. Maybe someone lost a job. It's difficult for them. We feel sorry for them. Right, that's sympathy. Now, compassion goes a little bit further, in the sense that you feel so strongly about it that you want to take an action. You have this desire to elevate, to solve their problems. This is where a lot of people who has the guts, right, and they go into the less developed countries and or places that nobody else want to go to, deep in the jungle and things like that, and places where it's really unthinkable. There's no convenience that we know of in that sense. Now, these people, they maybe because they see the poverty of some group of people, they see the difficulty, adversity of some another group of people, and they really have this strong desire to do something about them and helping them to get out of the situation. Now, you can't go into a jungle and help those people without having compassion for them. It's really something that is very strong, and you want to do something for them, right? Empathy is a bit different from them, and we'll talk about what is empathy in a minute, right? But I want to go on to the third one, which is why one misconception about being empathic. Right, when you're feeling empathetic towards somebody, right, sometimes you might feel that some people will think that, oh, that's me being weak, okay, or being a wimpy person, right? People are always saying empathy is always associated with negative or down feelings, like the person is always crying, self-pity, that kind of stuff. So if I have empathy towards this group, these people, maybe does that make, so it will make me seem like very weak, or does that mean that I become a wimpy person as well? So because of that, they withdraw themselves, and they stop being empathetic towards other people, right? So if empathy is if all these are misconceptions of empathy, then what is empathy, right? Let's see what is empathy then. Now, empathy is actually can be explained in this way. There are many ways to explain it, right? So one way to explain it is that empathy is the ability to recognize, understand, and share the thoughts and feelings of another person. In other words, not only you see someone, so for example, you see in our earlier example of poverty or elderly or young kids, who they have to, they are being made forced by syndicate to beg and and con people money, that kind of stuff. Now, empathy is the ability to recognize, understand, and share the thought and feelings of another person. So meaning you really able to see that this person is really going through some difficult times. You can feel the anger, you can feel the grief, you can feel the pain, and you can see where they are coming from, which is actually my next point. You see things from their point of view and you imagine yourself in their place. And so, if you were in their shoes, you would have felt the same thing as well. You have respond in the same way as well. And so you see things from imagine yourself in that place. Now, essentially, it is putting yourself in someone else's position and feeling what they must be feeling, right? So hold on, just let me double check my
Imagine yourself in
okay,
that place.
great. Now, why is empathy important then? Right, so that's about my third point. Put yourself in someone else's position and feel what they feel. That is empathy. That is the most important part of empathy. Now, why is empathy important then? Absolutely, right? The most important thing about empathy is that it helps us to understand and connect with others better, right? Now, before this, as I was growing up, I'm always saying I'm quite a fast learner to a certain extent, right? By God's grace, and I'm always learning things, pick up things quite fast, and I'm always saying things like, "Oh, what's so difficult about this? What's so difficult about that?" Right? And very arrogant, very proud person when I was growing up, right? Until one day it happened to me. So meaning that one day I was picking up a skills, and especially when it comes to technology, as I was growing up, right? And that was in my younger days, it was not an issue. But when I stepped into work life and start my own business, I have to start learning things and step out of my comfort zone. And I realized that there's so many more things that I don't know, especially when it comes to technology and IT. It always takes me a longer, very long time to pick up just a simple concept, like 3 or 4 clicks, right? And a lot of IT people, or software people, they try to teach me how to use a certain software, and they will just go, now you just click here, and you know what? By the third click, I'm lost, right? And and they gave me the facial expression, right? Okay, some of them, they were too polite, or because I'm their client, they didn't say it out loud. But you can tell from their facial expression that they was thinking to themselves, what's so difficult about this? All you have to do is just click. And you know what? And it really set me back, and start to take a step back and start thinking, of the times that I've been telling people what's so difficult about it, and being impatient with people and all. And it made me realize that there are some things that, like, some things, every individual has different talents and strengths. So there are some things that come easily to me, but it doesn't mean it's easy for other people. So as I explain to my clients and all, some of the things, because we deal a lot of compliance as well. So sometimes some people find it very hard to digest, and to me it's like, I've already break it down so easily, so layman term for you. I use examples and still don't get it. Sometimes people just don't get it, right? They just don't, right? And just like some people, they just don't get numbers. Right, and numbers to them is they just cannot take it. They just cannot take it, right? Even as simple, like, I have clients who, or have come across people, I just tell them a very simple, 1, 2, 3, 4 plus another 100. They will be like, oh, let me think. It's really an easy. Somebody cannot. They just cannot digest numbers. And I have people who just don't know what is called design, or have a sense of beauty, and to them it's like, what's wrong with this? It's beautiful enough, it's clean enough, and all, until somebody else present to them another way of presentation, which they realize that, hey, actually this can be more beautiful, better presented. No, so it helps us to understand and connect with others better, because as time goes by, right, I learned to appreciate other people's talents. I learned that sometimes I am not the best. I don't know everything. Seriously, the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know. And with that, right, I realized some of the difficulties I have when I pick up a skill. And with that, it makes me a better teacher, a better trainer, because I will use that. I will remind myself of that experience, that difficulty in learning when I teach my students or my clients, where when I teach them something and they really cannot pick up so as quickly. There will always be someone who cannot pick up as quickly as others, and I learn to be more patient with them. I learn to be more, I think, of different ways to help them to understand, because I can understand their fears. I can understand their frustration. It's not that they don't want to learn, they just cannot pick up, right? And you can understand, and with that, right, a lot of people find that, hey, it makes me a better teacher. And a lot of people like to come to me to ask me to teach them things, or they come to me and say, hey, can you help me? They need to teach their team members some things, and they just can't find a way. And after they explain to me, I showed them another way of teaching, and they find that, hey, that's a really good way. They implement it, and the team members get it. So being in empathy, right, it really helps me to understand what is the challenges the other side is facing, the other party is facing, what are their concerns, what are their fears, what are their dreams. And with that, I can connect with them. I can answer their queries. I can address their concerns, whatever it is, right? So then it begs the question, is it nature or is it nurture? The century-old question, if not for thousands of years, I guess, or hundreds of years, or at least decades, right? This is a question that a lot of psychologists have been researching, whether is it nature versus nurture. And you know what? After so many years, they still cannot have a conclusive result in whether is it nature or nurture, which one is more important, that kind of stuff. It's always 49%, 51. Sometimes nature, sometimes in nurture. I think it's a bit of both, right? So if you have, if by nature, some people are just by naturally, they are gifted with certain talents, certain skills, including this thing called empathy. They are able to empathize with others a lot easier. Right? You just look at children, right? When they were 2 years old, you look at some 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, right? And if you pretend, if you play with them, right, and you pretend to cry, you will notice in the group of 2-year-old toddlers or 3-year-old, you will find that there will be a one or two, right? They will come to you, even if they don't know you. They will try to comfort you. They will try to they may even bring you a piece of tissue, right, to wipe your tears and all that. And it's very by nature. And there will be another 2 or 3 of them is just standing aside and not knowing what to do, or like, what's wrong, what's going on, what happened, right? So there are people like that. That's the nature. So when you look at children, right, it's what nature has given to them, right? Because children are not contaminated yet, right? So you can see what nature has for them, right? And this is by nature. Some children are just like that. They are more caring. They are more kind. They can sympathize. They can empathize with people a bit more than the others, and they grow up to be they just can feel for others, and more sensitive to others, other people's feeling, more sensitive to that than other people, right? Does that mean the rest of us, like me, who since young have never really, growing up, I'm not really an empathetic person. I'm not. I know a bit about sharing, but I'm not really that until I didn't even realize that until I mixed with other group of people, friends who can empathize with others a lot more than I do. Seriously, my ability to empathize with others is actually is really cultivated. It's really it's really nurtured, right? Because empathy is something that comes from experience, right? As we grow older, 1 year older, 1 year wiser, right? Supposedly, right? So throughout my 40s now, in my past 20 years, especially when you start working, you start dealing with a lot of people, a lot of different people, right? When school is quite so-called standardized, you see a certain pattern or certain group of people, certain kind of people. But when you go to work, you meet thousands of different categories, and there's no fixed formula for you on how to deal with people and all. And seriously, I learned from the hard way as well. And over the years, I've learned through experiences that you really I become more empathetic towards others. So if you ask me, can empathy be cultivated? I think absolutely yes. Right? But that's provided you want to learn that skill set as well, and you see that the importance of it. Remember, we talk about the importance is to be able to understand and connect with others. So empathy is a skill set that can be cultivated. I totally believe so, right? Even if you cannot reach level 10 out of 10, right, you still can, from 0 you can reach to maybe level 3 or level 5. That's still better than nothing, right? So one of the things I learned is that over the years, I learned this principle called and remind myself that we don't know the full story, right? And sometimes what you see may be just partial, and it may not be the whole truth. And because it's not the whole truth, it can be a distorted picture, right? So for example, and sometimes growing up, I have to I'm a very strong person. I don't like to tell people my problems because of my pride, because of my upbringing, not to be a burden to others, not to be a liability or parasite to people. So I don't like to share my problems with other people, right? And I tend to go into my cave and keep quiet, even though I can still be happy, I can still be jovial, I can still be positive, but I don't necessarily tell everything to other people. Now, then a lot of people, sometimes I get misunderstood that I'm very aloof. I've been, I reject people's help and all, right? And I'm just stubborn and I don't want people's help. Now that is so not true, and people, after they realize who I really am and all, they realize that that's not the whole story, and they got a distorted picture, right? And by the same token, when it comes to other people, I also learn it from the hard way. So I form an opinion of someone, right? And only to find out later on that is so not true. For example, I met someone, one team member in the past, and she didn't do what she was supposed to do, right? And and I was holding her accountable for it, and I didn't deal with it very well, and I didn't know all this then. I was young and reckless, now old and reckless. Okay, so I didn't really know how to handle things, and she just blew her top as well. She just lost her cool, and it was only later on I realized something, that one of her family members actually have just been diagnosed with cancer, right? And is in ICU at the moment, right? At the point where, that's why she couldn't finish her work. And when I questioned her, and she just lost control of herself, right? So, and before I find out what's going on, I already found that opinion, which is actually totally not true. And it's that I find an opinion that she's not responsible. That is so not true. It's not right. If I had taken some time to find out from her and listen to what's going on first, then the whole thing could have panned out very differently, right? So of course, now that sometimes things still happen, I still have to question people. I have to hold people accountable for what they are supposed to do. But I learned to cultivate. I learned to do it in a different way. Firm, right? I'm still firm, but I don't do it the way I used to do now. So we'll talk about the how-tos later on. Yeah. So in short, I think if someone is not naturally being empathetic, you can still cultivate it, right? Now, on the other hand, you can go overboard, and you can be too empathic. Okay, and that's the danger of that. And some of you, I suspect, right? Some of you who are listening to this are already experiencing it, and you actually back off. You realize that when you go overboard and you and you exercise empathy to others, you couldn't control yourself, and you just fall into their feelings, and you fall into depression with them. You go into whatever that is going on in the other person's life. You fall into the same thing, and you couldn't get out, right? There is a danger of being too empathic, right? So what is the danger of it? Let me share the danger first, right? One is that you will find that you overburden yourself, and the other one is that you burn out. So when you exercise empathy to others, and but at some point you find that you feel that you are being very burdened by the other person's problem, and you feel that you're feeling burnout all the time, right? Even no matter how much sleep you have, you are still always tired, and you feel that there's no zest for life. Sometimes you might have gone overboard, right? And you have been too empathic, right? So there's a danger of that going overboard, and there's a proper way, a healthy way of doing that, right? At this point, I'll talk about it later on, but just take note of that, right? You are not, when you are being empathic, you are not um, you are not taking on the other person's responsibility. Just bear that in mind for now, right? So I want to go on to the next slide first. I want to talk about how does being empathic help me to connect with others. Okay, I just want to give you some kind of example of that, right? Now, so one example I want to share now in this session is when dealing with a client, how being having that ability to the empathy helps me to connect with the client. Now, I help clients. I run a business consultancy firm, and I help people to start their business. I help people to grow their businesses, and in various areas. So, if you are talking about someone who has just started a business, and I can empathize with them in the sense that I know what it feels like. I know what are their fears. I want to what they're afraid of. What are their concerns? What if I don't make it? I know because I went through that before, and I know that it can be very scary. And I don't judge them on that. Oh, you've been timid. Oh, how can you be more gutsy and all that? I don't call them that anymore, right? Instead, I acknowledge their fears, their concerns, and I tell them, I share with them how I overcome it, how I take the leap of faith, and how I know after that, things there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and all that. I have other videos to share about on this aspect, how you take actions, how you overcome your fears, right? So you can check out all my other videos. There's so much about this to expound on. I won't repeat that in this video, right? Now, so on the other hand, and that's also the middle group where people whereby they have already started their businesses and they don't know how to grow their business. And at this point of time, they have other kind of concerns as well. They have a different set. So think of it, the first group, right? They just started their business, it's like a baby, right? They just started to learn how to walk. And then the second group is they have already started their business, and they are growing their businesses. So this is like a teenager stage, right? And so teenagers have their own problems, right? Same thing, those who are already started and they want to grow, they have their problems. And being empathy towards them, having empathy towards them makes me know that what are their concerns, and I'm able to connect with them. I'm able to address their concern. I can verbalize their concerns. I can picture their concern, and I can explain to them that how you can overcome your concern and your fears and your whatever it is that's holding back from going forward, right? And then the third group, of course, is those who are very established and they want to go to the next level. And these are like the working adults already, right? You're in adult stage. So these are all different kind of stages, and every stage, right? I'm able to connect with them by practicing empathy with them, by putting myself in their shoes, but and visualize and feel what they are concerned with. Or sometimes they're very angry as well, for whatever reasons. Sometimes they are very confused. Sometimes they are very overwhelmed. Now, it's not just what I've mentioned is just about starting your business, right? In the business context for business owners. Now, if you are not a business owner, this is applicable to you in the marketplace. If you are an employee, it works for you as well because it can help you to connect. If you have empathy to others, right, you can actually be a better employee to your employer. For example, right, your very commonly, right, employer, the bosses will always talk to you about either hit your sales target or save expenses, right? Now, some of us don't like it, but if you think about it, step back and think, if you were the boss, what would you be thinking? Now, I have my nephews have just like started work, right? They they're just starting work in their first job. And even for the young ones, I always tell them, right, when people pay you 3,000, make sure you give $4,000 worth of work to them, right? And everyone who hears me and will more inevitably, most of them will be in shock. So I explained to them that, in Singapore, we have our CPF system where the employer got to pay extra 17%. Then they have to pay you the 13-month bonus. They have to pay for your, if you take into consideration of your leave, of your benefits and all. Hey, if you break it down, it's about $1,000 more. So your cost to the company is actually a lot more than you think, more than it seems, right? And every time when I start breaking down the numbers to our people, they realize, you know what? Yeah, because another common thing I hear from both sides is that employee is always saying that you pay me peanut, you pay me so little and you want me to do so much. Employer is always saying, I pay you so much and you're doing so little. The thing is that they are not getting the real picture, right? Once you sit down and talk about it, right, and you realize this is the true picture, right? And you will be able to talk to each other, communicate better, and there will be less friction in each other as well, because you can see where each other is coming from, right? So you can see that, or why the frustration, yeah. Okay, right. So another example I want to share with is like when I was dealing with a team member. Now when I deal with team members, this is internal. Just now with clients is external, right? So team member is just like what I mentioned to you at workplace, right? And I'll deal with generally there are three different groups of people as an illustration. So I deal with the fresh graduate, people who just graduated. What are their concerns? Most commonly the concerns, I'm not good enough, right? I'm not experienced enough. I am afraid to make mistake, right? Should I take the initiative or I just follow instruction and do that, right? If I follow the instructions only, they might, there are certain common sense things that I did not do, and people might say that I don't have common sense, I don't take the initiative. But if I take initiative and something goes wrong, people will be like, who asked you to be a smart aleck, right? Nobody asked you to do those things, right? So what do you do, right? And I understand, I totally understand. So that's why I can I can say all these things, right? And when I'm dealing with middle-aged people, I can understand what are what they're afraid of as well. In the middle age, it's really hard to find a job. They are afraid that they do something wrong and then they get terminated, or they get even if they don't do anything wrong, the first one, because they are more expensive, right? You will have to pay them more, right? And if the company is not doing well, the first one, the first one to get retrenched might be them, right? So and also with the technology these days, they have to catch up with technology and the new skill set they have to learn. It can be very difficult for them to learn a new skill set. I know a lot of middle-aged people, it's not that they don't want to learn, but it's really a bit challenging for them to learn. But don't give up, right? I always tell my middle-aged teammates that don't give up. If you give up, that's even worse. Imagine if you do it, it's slow, right? But if you give up, it's zero, right? So just keep moving, and after all, so long you keep moving, you won't be left behind, right? So many of them find that this is very encouraging, this is very true. And sometimes more often than not, I always tell them, right, these two group of people, I always tell them, focus on progression, not perfection. If you keep focus on progression, you will, you just keep being 1% better than yesterday, you will actually get there at some point. You will realize you have improved without realizing it, without feeling stressed out about it, right? The third group of people is the mature people, right? Maybe in the 50s, in the 60s, right? This group of people, usually they are quite established, and probably money is not an issue, but what's their fear? What is their greatest fear? And what they are most afraid of is the feeling of being useless, right? Being of no value to nobody, being discarded by the society like a piece of used tissue. So many of them. That's why they keep holding on to their job in that sense. They want a job because they want to be able to contribute. Because otherwise, staying at home doing nothing can be torturing to someone. It's as good as being in the prison. Because what you're not contributing, and it's human nature. Is innately we want to contribute one way or another. So because of that, right, sometimes the mature one they may be doing things that that helps them to keep their job, right? But it might be the method might be outdated for this era. So, that's which cause friction with the young ones again, right? And then you hear the old ones saying that, oh, you youngsters, and the young ones like, oh, your method is outdated, and the old ones say that you young ones don't, you don't respect me. So all these are going on in the workplace, in the marketplace, right? But I think you don't have to choose either or. Right? I always joke, right, about this. Ladies, if you go out and buy shoes, or guys, if your girlfriend or wife is asking you and they see two pairs of shoes and they say which one is better, I always say, why choose? Take both, right? So whether you're fresh grad, middle age, or mature, you have your own advantages. You have your own talents. You have your way of contribution in a different kind of manner. It's different, but it's just as important. Right, let me repeat that. Different but just as important. Meaning that the mature one, they have their life experiences, which is evergreen, right? And these life experiences is how you handle people. They have the connection, they have the context, they have the past experience, which is actually not outdated. Life experiences are not outdated. Information may be, technical skills may be, but life experiences don't. It runs in the cycle. It always come back because it's human nature and it's always the same, right? But the fresh one, you have your zest, you have your energy, right? And so the old one can learn from the young ones, and the young ones can learn from the old ones. So don't separate you all, both groups, right? No matter what age and how inexperienced or experienced you are, you can contribute in different ways, right? So that's the main thing, different. And you will see that throughout this session, I emphasize a lot on differences, right? So this group of people, these three group of people, again, they have different fears. They're afraid of different things. Now with that, right, and why I can lay out all these things for you, it's just a tip of the iceberg. There are many things that I deal with on a daily basis, and the problems that they are facing, I hear them, what they are actually saying, what are they emotionally, what are they hiding, and all. So being having that ability to empathize with them and empathy with them, and it helps me to really connect with them and say things that address their concerns and what they are afraid of. I think you keep hearing me repeating that, right? Because it's so important. Because that's my trick. Because when you can do that, you can do a lot of things, right? Now, if we talk so much about the importance, we have addressed the misconception. We talk about what is empathy. We talk about the nature versus nurture. We talk about the danger of being over empathic. So, how to be empathic the right way? Right? And the right way meaning is not right or wrong in that sense. Right way meaning healthily for other people and for you, right? That's the key, right? It's not that you be empathic or don't be empathic, but it's actually to be empathic the healthy way, right? Just remember, it's the healthy way. Now, and let's take a look. The first thing I want to share with is actually your role is to be able to understand where they are coming from, but your role is not to take on the burden. It's not to take on their burden. At the end of the day, everybody is responsible for their lives and their choices. We are all given the greatest gift in this world. I believe that, which is called free choice. And but you can have free choice. You can freely choose whatever you want, but you cannot choose the consequences to your choices. Right? So if you choose to put your hand in the fire, you cannot say that I don't want the consequence of being burned. Right? Choose fire, you get burned. Right? The real fire, okay? I'm not talking about the fake ones, yeah? Right? So you just need to, your role here is actually just to be able to understand where the other side is coming from. Why do they say what they say? And just listen to what they are talking about, and try put yourself in their shoes. Oh yeah, actually, you know what? When you listen, you will find that, yeah, maybe if it's me, I will probably feel the same way as well. I will respond the same way as well. I will get angry as well. I will get sad as well. I will be happy as well. So I'll get excited as well. So you will be able to understand where they are coming from. That's your role, okay? It's not to take on their burden. And the outcome that you want, right, is to help and support them so that they can stand on their own, and not you are not to be their crutch, right? And this is the danger of being over empathic. right? So when you are when you have too much, right, and they are leaning on you, and they are not trying to stand on on their own 2 feet. That is not good. It's not good for them. It's not good for you, because they are leaning so much on you. This is where we were talking about. This is the danger of it, right? Where they are leaning so much that you are taking on their burden, and you feel the responsibility that to make their life correct, but you are not. You just need to help and support them so that they can stand on their own, right? You can be crutch for a short limited of time, right, in the beginning, but at the end of the day, it's like when I had my accident, when the physio came to teach me how to walk again, right? I have to go through physio to learn how to walk again. Though initially they helped me, and then it progressed into walking chairs and things like that. But at some point, I'm supposed to learn how to walk on my own again. And it is so important, because always remember, if you are their crutch, what are they going to do if you are not around? It's not healthy for them, right? Take it from me, because I made that mistake of being a crutch to others. I take on their burden, I take on the responsibility to make their life correct, right? But I realized, I fine-tuned it to tell myself that I'm here to help and support them whatever I can. And then if I cannot help and support them, if I can, I help to send them to other people who can help and support them better than I do, right? So this is where you really need to be very clear on this issue, on this outcome and your role, right? So some ways that we can do is that to develop your ability to your empathy with others is, first and foremost, you must have a genuine interest in wanting to help the other person. Okay, you cannot be pretending, and you must have a genuine interest in wanting to help the other person to be better, and find out what they need and all. And you can do that, and you genuinely then, and you see from their perspective, right? This is so important. At the end of the day, empathy, if you cannot remember anything, just remember, you must be able to see from their perspective. That's the most important part, right? And you can observe the non-verbal. One way is to observe the non-verbal language as well, and you listen to them. You listen to them without forming an opinion first. Yes, don't form it. If you have already formed an opinion, just do your best to put it aside, right? Just listen to them, right? Don't say that, oh, you're always talking rubbish, and don't go through the motion. That's why the number one thing I say is the genuine interest in wanting to help the others. So you must listen without an opinion first. Listen to them, observe their non-verbal language, and you see from their perspective, right? And another way I do to improve my ability to empathy with others is to intentionally I hang out with people who are different from me. Okay, I always intentionally, purposely choose people that I normally don't hang out. Right, I will hang out with them. I would have coffee with them, and or if it's a group setting, I will intentionally sit next to them and ask them, hey, if I meet them for the first time, oh, what do you do? And things like that. I'll see, hey, what do you think of this? And I'll listen to what they say. Remember, listen without forming an opinion first, right? So I see where they are coming from and say, hey, maybe there's a point to what they are saying, even if you don't agree, right? Listen without forming an opinion doesn't mean you have to agree with everything that they say, right? You also don't have to disagree with everything that they say, and it's okay that you totally disagree, right? It's totally, even if the other side talk rubbish, right? You still learn something. Why? You learn what not to do, right? So I intentionally hang out with people who are different from me, so that I know there are always different group of people, right? And like, for example, we were doing some copywriting, and we were thinking like now we have some live events, right? Now live events, when we say live event, do they realize when we say live event is face to face and not a video like this, right? Because live event can be like this, right? Facebook live is live, right? It is still live, but what we are talking about is face to face, the physical event. And we were talking about, so how should we put live? Would they understand? Would we put face to face? Would they understand? And I told them, right? Someone actually told me when I said face to face, right? And the person's response was that, oh, you mean I have to turn on my video? Right? So the person is still thinking online, right? But we are talking about offline, right? So there are always different people. So I like to hang out with people who are different from me, so I can see where they are coming from and say, hey, that's my blind spot. And I never thought about it that way. And you know what? If you really listen without forming an opinion first, you will find that actually sometimes they have a point as well, right? Now, next, charity. Okay, so charity is something that don't just, when I say charity, don't just give money, but take actions. Participate in their activities, volunteer. You'll find that charity is something that really, okay, scientifically, your endorphin is already released, so you feel good, right? And remember earlier on, I mentioned that we all have this innate need to contribute. So, and I find that doing charity helps me to appreciate what I have also, and I'll be very grateful to what I have also. And doing charity, because you are dealing with volunteers, right? It's very different from work and clients and vendors where there's monetary transaction involved. And charity usually is talk about volunteers, right? And you can't just tell people, oh, you should be doing this. We are all volunteers. Sometimes it can be very hard to move people. And you will also see a lot of people whereby they come with different intentions as well. Yeah. So, but doing charity made me see, and it really helps me to see things from a different perspective, and how other people respond, how people think, how they different kind of angles, or how you approach things as well, how you solve problems as well. So I find doing charity, it really helps me to be more empathetic, right? And okay, next is travel to a less developed countries. I know sometimes like I don't want to go to a third world country, right? But I find that places I've been to like Nepal, as it's just so beautiful. And by the way, it is because they are so called less developed doesn't make them less beautiful, right? I've seen the most beautiful sunrise in Nepal. Really, in the mountain, it's just so beautiful, right? Even though it was so cold, but it was so beautiful. Now, same thing, similar to charity, that but you do something and you really appreciate what you have as well, and you develop a grateful heart, right? The thing about developed country in this sense, because country is totally different from your culture, from your upbringing, from a lot of your environment and all. So it's it's very more. I find that it takes the different perspective to a higher level. So you will see a very different things as well. Yes, right? Now, this last one, same but different. Okay, sometimes we find that empathy means that does that mean that if I don't go through the same, I have to go through the same pain or same kind of feelings with that person, right? Or same situation, right? And then I can feel what the person is feeling, or I can see what the person is thinking and all. Now, sometimes we don't always go through the same thing, right? But you may not go through the same thing, you may not go through the same situation, but you can have different situation, but you can still have the same emotions, same feelings, and same thoughts as well. So, for example, if we talk on a little bit serious item, would be like loss of a loved one, right? Right. So sometimes we loss of loved one can come in different shapes and forms also, right? There's different kind of loved ones. Some are spouses, some are children, some are parents, some are siblings, some are friends. And so sometimes I may not have lost a spouse or a child, but I've lost my father. And so sometimes it may not be exactly the same situation, may not be exactly the same kind of pain, right? But it's still a very close enough kind of pain. So you don't have to go through the exact situation to be able to empathize with the other person, right? To develop that kind of empathy towards the other person. You can draw from your other experiences, other situation, and develop empathy towards the other one as well. If you don't have a loss of loved ones, think of a loss of something, and because it's a thing, right? So you magnify. Just imagine if you lose you lose a laptop, right? It's already so painful because of the laptop, the hardware and the software and the information is really heartache, right? You drop your mobile phone, it's really heartache. So can you imagine the loss of a loved one is actually 1,000 times more, right? Just based on that, use that as a basis. Now, if you let's say, for example, in terms of fears, you may have different fears from the other person, but just imagine as well, if you can be scared of a cockroach, why can't someone else be scared of a cat? I know a lot of people who are scared of cat, right? So it's the same kind of thing. It's maybe even worse, right? Cockroach is so small, I can just stamp on it, right? Like I always say, right? My friend always laugh at me. Why are you so afraid of the cockroach or the lizard? When you can just stamp on them and you step on them, and when in fact I think they are more afraid of us. Yes. Now, so what I'm saying here is that, so sometimes we just look at we don't have to go through the same thing. If I've heard people's excuses is that, "Oh, I never gone through that same situation. How am I going to have empathy towards that person to feel what the other person feel?" No, you don't have to go through exact situation, but you can draw from a different situation which give you a similar kind of emotions in you as well. Yes. Okay. Right. Now, we have this. We have. I just want to, before I end off, improving your level of empathy takes experience, and experience takes time. You're not going to increase your ability to empathize with people overnight or just by watching my video once. Right. In fact, come back and watch it again next week, the week after, and you will learn different things as well. But you need to start now, right? See empathy as a skill set. Be conscious about this skill set. And if you cannot remember everything, just remember to ask yourself this question: what if it's me? How would I feel or do in that situation, in that person's situation? Now, this is a very big topic, and we have many more videos to expound this in this area. So watch out for that, right? So that's all I have for today. I trust that you have learned at least one thing today and internalize the quick tips of how to quickly, and you will reach your destination at some point, right? So type in the chat box, what have you learned? Yeah. Now, many people have asked me, why am I speaking and doing training on the topic on people skills? It's like it falls in the same category of telling people to eat more fruits and vegetables, drink more water, and do more exercise, right? People know these are good for them, yet they do not want to do it for many, many different reasons. Now, it's because people skill is a very practical and important skill set. And I think it can totally be learned, right? I would say it's a life-saving skill set. I know many of you are concerned about being replaced by technology and artificial intelligence. I truly believe that people skills is one skill set that will never be replaced by technology and artificial intelligence. You can learn about coding, cybersecurity, but these are technical skills that will get obsolete, and you will have to keep improving yourself in this area. Yes, they are important, but behind every hardware, software, equipment, machines, even cameras like this, there's a human being. This is what keeps me going. Because I know behind every camera, there is one person watching, learning, and needing this message. Right. So it doesn't matter what business or what industry or what position are you in. You are always dealing with people. So you might as well start learning how to deal with people. And the first person to start with is with yourself. So like, share, subscribe, follow us in this journey of improving yourself. Right. See you in our next video. Bye.